Good morning, my friends. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications so I can be with you forever. So, as most of you already know, there's been a lot of panic about the recent coronavirus outbreak that's been going about. And I'm going to be honest, the past few days I've been feeling a little bit ill personally. I've been exhibiting some of the symptoms of the virus. I'm not concerned at all, however. There's no reason to, get wrapped up into fear. For the obvious reason, fear and stress is only going to, hurt your immune system in general. So if you want to actually fight through this and, maintain your health, being afraid is actually counterproductive towards that. But I don't really want to talk about that specifically right now. What I want to focus on is because I did a meditation live stream yesterday just as a kind of fun experiment, so to speak. I kind of wanted to delve more into that topic of meditation and, just general spiritual practice within that realm, and not just spiritually, but, physical health as well. And I'm going to compare this to this other spiritual act that's been very popular, and that's the use of psychedelics. Now, I am not against psychedelics. I've done psychedelics numerous times. I definitely recommend it on occasion. But I am also here to say that as a person who also practices meditation and various specific types of meditation that I engage in, I will say with full confidence that meditation will help you attain higher levels of, whether it's spiritual enlightenment or general peace of mind or general go with the flow type of situations. And the reason for that is that meditation requires actual work. It requires actual focus and dedication and a discipline. And when you are engaged in a discipline, you are actually going to, strengthen yourself internally and strengthen your mind and strengthen yourself on a very deep level. When you engage in psychedelics, you do not have that strength given to you. It's sort of like a snap into place in terms of understanding the world and understanding the universe and understanding, the basics of how things work. But there is a certain level of danger getting into psychedelics because it's such immediate sensation that you're experiencing. When you take a psychedelic, you're entering into, that other dimension, so to speak. You're entering that trip and you're going there full force, right? There's no progress. There's no, struggle to get there. It happens all at once. And the danger with that is, you might not be ready to handle it. And that's when you can have a bad trip, right? Which generally doesn't happen that often, but it could happen. For psychedelics, who I would recommend that to is just anybody just starting to get into spirituality in general, someone who hasn't done it before, and wanting to experience a new level of perspective that you've never experienced before. And then after that, doing more of your research into, specific fields of meditation, because that's where the real work is and that's where the real change is going to happen, not just spiritually, but physically as well. Physical changes are going to be some of the most important aspects, and it's going to be the foundation of your spiritual enlightenment, or whatever you want to call it. When you do psychedelics, there is no physical component to it. You might get a physical sensation, but your body isn't adjusting itself. Your day-to-day life isn't going to be adjusted. That's the thing with psychedelics, is that once the trip is over, you might have a different perspective on the world. They call this the afterglow, but you generally fall back into your old self. You fall back into your old ego. This quote-unquote ego death doesn't actually die. It just sort of goes to sleep, so to speak, when you do psychedelics. So when you're engaged in meditation, you can actually strengthen the part of your mind that will sort of overpower the ego and sort of take control of the ego. And that requires a lot of work and a lot of training. Just like if you want to train your body, you have to work out. You can either go to the gym every day and work out and strengthen your body, or you can, do cocaine or, speed, and you'll get energy that way, but it's not going to actually affect you in the long term. LSD, DMT, shrooms, those are all sort of like speed or steroids for your spirit, basically, which, could be a good thing for somebody who is in a mindset where they might be stuck and they just need to get through a certain situation and they need to sort of see things from a different perspective. And that's why I continue to microdose on shrooms occasionally just to get back into that mindset. But I've sort of put myself in a situation where I'm not really going into a situation where I'm going to trip, do a big trip, do like a lot of psychedelics all at once, because for many reasons, within my spiritual meditative practice, there's a lot of energy work that's going on. And when you do psychedelics, it's kind of like gasoline. So if you're already in tune with your body and you're doing specifically like if you're looking at yoga, kundalini, or whatever the fuck you do, or specifically for me, I'm focusing more on Chinese martial arts like Neigong and Qigong. When you get involved in those kinds of things, you realize that psychedelics can actually overheat you. And this happens even when I microdose. I start getting like too energetic to the point where I'm like starting to overheat, and I can feel myself like oversaturated with energy, so to speak. And I know that if I do too much, it could actually be dangerous for me. So this is the other aspect of once you get into meditation and you actually get really deep into the practices, you're going to notice that over time, your ability to just withhold and maintain a psychedelic habit is going to be, not really beneficial for you. It's going to be a detriment to you, because this is the other thing about psychedelics, is that it brings you to a higher dimension, but there is a glass ceiling there. There is a level, unless maybe you're doing DMT, which I've never done before, and quite honestly, I don't have any real inclination to do DMT. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it naturally for when I die, or if I'm in a deep meditative trance or something like that. But forcing myself into that doesn't seem like the right path for me, at least at this moment. But if you're looking at something like LSD or shrooms, you are going to ascend to a higher dimension, but there is a glass ceiling, in the sense that you're sort of elevating yourself into like a little box that's like higher up than, the physical world. But if you want to go beyond that, you won't be able to in that trip. You'd have to do that through meditation. And through meditation is when you're actually separating yourself from the physical world completely, which can't exactly be done through a chemical enhancement, right? So psychedelics are good as a starting block for people. But if you really want to go beyond that, these kinds of drugs will kind of keep you down a little bit. And there's a lot of people who, psychedelics drugs are definitely like the least addictive things. That's like done through studies, but there are people who have done a lot of psychedelics and they can be addicted because they develop a habit for them. And from my experience of knowing those people, it can lead you into a delusional mindset, because the thing about those psychedelics is that your mind is open. So, your mind could be open to various different influences and, things that you might not want to be influenced by. And these can come from demons and your own ego even. And, if you notice that there are some people who overindulge, let's just say, in psychedelics, they can become very delusional. They can become, very paranoid when they come back into the real world. And this is when it develops into things like schizophrenia, which schizophrenia is basically the lack of maintaining your spirit and your soul from being influenced by outside forces. So, when you're getting into these arts, it's good to practice a meditation routine so that way you can actually strengthen your essence, let's just say, strengthen your soul, strengthen your spirit, so that way you can, once you ascend, you're doing it on a gradual basis and you're building a physical foundation in yourself. That's why when you find a lot of monks and a lot of people who do meditation, they can attain, a high. I've experienced visuals, very psychedelic visuals from just meditation. I have experienced a high from doing it, but I am also grounded back into the earth. I'm not just floating up into the sky there, which, could happen if you do too many psychedelics, right? You kind of can get lost, which, we're on earth. It's good to stay into this world because we're here for a reason. We're here to experience something. And that's why with meditation, you will find that, you will attain that spiritual path, but it will be a lot longer to attain. It will be a lot more difficult. You'd have to train a lot more. It requires a lot more discipline, but the rewards that come from it are much greater than you would get from just doing psychedelics. And, there's nothing, like I said, there's nothing wrong. And I definitely encourage people, and I definitely support the legalization of psychedelics at some point in the future, because I feel like keeping it illegal is just causing unnecessary problems and, the spread of research chemicals, which are horrible. That's the other thing about psychedelics. You're taking a risk in terms of taking shit that you don't really want to be taking. Luckily for me, I've never experienced something like that, but I know people who have, and it's not a good experience that you want to have. So, it's good to, develop a spiritual practice in a tangible, foundational way through meditation, because, and this is also important, is if you are entering a mindset or a thought pattern when you're in meditation, or you're entering sort of a dimension, if you want to call it, that is not exactly where you want to go. Like, you know yourself, like you're not ready, you're too attached to your ego, fear is starting to overwhelm you, you can always pull out of it and just sort of step back and be like, okay, like I don't need to go through that. When you do psychedelics, you have no choice. You have to go through it no matter what. Which, that's the other aspect of psychedelics, which I would recommend, is that you will be going through a situation where you have no control and you sort of have to let go of that control, which I think is important just in life. We have to lose control in order to sort of go with the flow of life and go with the flow of, what's supposed to happen in the world. So on that basis, I think it's good to experiment when you're starting out, just so you can lose that sense of feeling that I need to control everything. And then once you do that, then you can develop your meditation practice. And when you are confronted with those blockages, those states of mind that are negative or scary to enter into, you'll feel like, you know what, I'm just going to go into it. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not, going to be consumed by fear or stress because of this. And when you engage in that mindset, you will pull through. It's when you engage in fear is when those demons or those entities can actually take control of you and actually harm you. That's very important to recognize, especially what's going on right now with the coronavirus. If you're going to be consumed by fear, it's going to, first of all, affect your immune system and you'll just get sicker faster. But even if you don't get sick, you're going to be mentally sick. You're going to just feel sick. You're just not going to feel good. No one feels good when they're consumed by fear. So at the end of the day, what's the big difference between being sick and being mentally sick, right? There's not. You're in pain either way. So, and that's what meditation will encourage you to do, is to let go of that fear and to let go of attachment to the future or the past, and to just sort of be in the moment, so to speak, and to be mindful of your surroundings and to be objective about everything and not be attached to too many things. And when you do psychedelics, you won't be grounded. Like I said, you won't be grounded in the earth and in, whatever. You'll be kind of floating up into this weird ethereal world, which, like I said, might be beneficial for you starting out in order to sort of break free from a very materialistic, you know, left brain perspective. So that's all I really have to say. I wish you all the best of luck going through this, you know, crazy time. Don't get caught up in the media and the fear mongering, and just enjoy the moments you do have, even if they are in quarantine. Enjoy the moments that you have of freedom and of relaxation, and take this time to maybe start up a meditation practice, because what else are you going to be doing anyway? So, like always, I'll see you next time, and peace.